Hello to you all. My name's Andrew Chung. I'm Artistic Director of INNERchamber, and with me today for INNERchamber Connections, I got two of my most favorite people in the world. We've got Dayna Manning. Hello, Dayna.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, Ben.
And I've got Ben Bolt Martin. Hey, Ben.
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Good. So this is ahead of our concert. It's called HEARTLAND, and this will be performed live from Revival House on April the 3rd, 2022. Super excited about this concert. We have history, you three, you two, us three. The history that goes back to, well, apparently Dayna and I knew of each other back in high school, but we didn't really know each other that well. But then we go to fast forward to 2017 and we did a concert together. It was called 1867, had to do with the, help me that word, sesquicentenary. Yes. Yep.
Sesquicentennial.
Thank you. And we, and for that concert, Dayna sung folk songs from around that era.
Yes.
Which was really neat.
Joined by the amazing string bone as well, Mr. Barry Payne.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
and Ben did the orchestral arrangements for a five-piece ensemble, four-piece ensemble. And then from there, we ended up collaborating on an album, right, Dayna?
That's right. We recorded my album, Morning Light, which also, well, it came out in 2019, months before. Arranged that for the same kind of quartet, violin, cello, French horn, flute, which was the most glorious thing I'd ever heard with a guitar and a voice, and I fell in love with, and I was so thankful for. And then it got nominated for the Canadian Folk Music Award Producer of the Year in 2021, which was really cool. Yeah.
So cool. And I just love that album. It's one of my faves. I could ramble on for half an hour about that alone, and it's such a great experience for us. And you know, we had you back for another concert. With this one was with Cedric Smith, and it was a love themed kind of concert. I remember this was around February. That was great. And then we needed to have you back again because it's so much
every other year.
Every other year. That is our pattern. That's our pattern. And so, you know, over this time, you've kind of coined a new term, right? And chamber folk. So it's like chamber music and folk music. How do you define chamber folk?
Well, I define it as folk songs with kind of classical, the chamber arrangements. And I didn't make it up. It's definitely this obscure subgenre that, I don't know, Nick Cave would have been considered chamber folk. And honestly, if you listen to popular radio, you'll find this combination often. I was listening to I Believe in Miracles the other day, and I realized like that is almost chamber folk. It's kind of listening for that in that popular style. But what I loved about it coming together was that folk was the music of the people, and that chamber arrangement was kind of the music of the people, and they were very much played and listened to in people's homes, and the history felt common to me, and that's what I really loved about the history of those genres coming together, is that they really felt meant to be. They were loved in the same way.
And then you, as a performer, as a folk singer, what does that feel like to be supported by those instruments? And we play in a different way. I don't know how to describe that. We'll let you describe that. But what is that like? How does that alter your approach to what you do?
Oh, it alters a lot about almost like the logistical or business side of what I'm doing. So I'll talk about that first. One is, we just played a show this weekend without you, Andrew, on violin, we missed you dearly, but it was really awesome because we could show up in Saskatchewan, hire a talented violin player, do one rehearsal, and play the show just as we would as if you were almost just as, I mean, we need that, Andrew. Element, but that for me is a real game changer, is that I don't have to always rely on every one of my musicians being available to do one of my shows, which is, it's tough as we're all really busy. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it, having everything written down, because where I come from, we have everything memorized in our head, every bar. No one deviates from it. I play the 2 45-minute sets without looking at a piece of paper, and can generally get through it without too many errors. And so that part, I really love that I have more flexibility as an artist to book shows and things like that. I guess, and the other aspect of that, I like having boundaries. I like having boundaries on what an album's going to be. I made an album, my third album was called Folkio, and I was the first album I produced, and I put every single thing I could imagine going in the song on that album. And it's just so dense and so over the top. And I love having a set amount of instruments that we're going to use to convey a sound. It gives it a almost like a sound brand. I just love the idea of it. And I do think that Ben has a particular talent for bringing the stories in my song to life in music. Like when you listen to Charlie Lake, those Northern Lights are dancing in front of you, you know? And so to me, it's a match made in heaven. I just have had the best time of my career working with you guys.
Aw, that's great. And so much of this experience for all of us depends on Ben and his arrangements, and yeah, it's so super important. And again, he's created arrangements for this concert coming up, this Heartland concert. So Ben, what's your take on how this concept came about, this concert concept?
Well, actually, why don't you talk for a little bit first about, I mean, I'll talk in a moment, but why don't you just talk about why we decided where this concert started with, you know, like
yeah. Okay, well, I'll have a go. Sure, fine. If you want to pass the potato, I don't mind. So for my take on it was that our string quartet had never played the Dvorak's American String Quartet. And, you know, that's a very particular quartet. I don't know why I've avoided it. I've thought of it secretly for many years as much of a student work. You know, it's the kind of thing that we'd bash away at it at university and have a go at it. But it is tremendously fun music. So we wanted to put that on the program. And then, you know, I also wanted to put on William Grant Still's music, and William Grant Still, will talk about him a little bit more. But it's a great composer, African-American composer, you know, active from about the 30s probably on up, well, even the 20s on up. And we just don't hear much of his music these days, except over the last 2-3 years since our cultural reckoning happened. For sure, he's getting a lot more, being programmed a lot more, and a lot more performances. And this is a great quartet of his. It's fun, and it's a musical portrait of 3 of his friends. So the sentimental one, the quiet one, and the jovial one. And so we put that on the program, and then we thought, okay, well, it looks like we have an American theme going on here, and why not ask Dayna if she would be interested in helping to select some folk songs, talking about the American story. And I think with the American story, you've got tied to that the American dream. If you work hard, you know, put your nose down and you work hard, success will follow. And I think it's in the folk songs that that story takes a little deviation on that road, and it comes across an album. Hang on, maybe it doesn't always happen that way. So, you know, I think you and Dayna together, you know, put your heads together and chose these songs. So what are we going to hear song-wise?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just want to follow up with that theme just a little bit before I go into that. Is like when we thought about like Dvorak is not American, William Grant Still definitely American, but this is music that is sort of really it's American music. Like you actually can't really hear that American quartet and not think, boy, that sounds like American music. That sounds like the States. And in some ways, Dvorak with that, and with his Ninth Symphony, the New World Symphony, he was a real contributor to what is the American sound, or what is the sound of American music, and sort of, you know, there's a real bluntness, a real directness about this music, and the still music that's very direct. And other than sort of, they were both written in the States, you know, we were trying to figure out what's the connecting tissue between these two works. And I guess in some ways it just kind of came to me that, you know, these are two composers who were sort of driving forces in sort of the rise of American music in the 20th century, but they didn't really, I mean, for Dvorak particularly, he came to the States, he wrote a couple of really amazing seminal works there, but he didn't really like it. He wanted to go home. He came for a few years, tried it out, ended up, you know, doing some stuff in New York, and I think it was Minnesota as well. But he got here and he said, this is not for me. I just got to go home. And of course, William Grant Still, I mean, a very successful musician, in his day, conducted the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra, I believe, and just had a lot of his works composed. But I mean, he's a sort of a representative of a portion of the population who just really was not, for whom the American dream was not as available as to a good portion of the population, right? So I mean, to me, that was the sort of the connection between these two pieces of work. And so then I sort of asked Dayna to help me find some songs for her to sing that sort of reflected the sort of, I think that's probably a real key ingredient maybe to the American dream, is that sense that it's not going to work out for everybody. I mean, the sense that when there is success, it's only as meaningful as it is, because it doesn't necessarily work out that way for everybody anyway. So I asked Dayna to help me find some songs that sort of reflected the stories of some people for whom the American dream didn't work out as well. And so, I mean, we ended up with actually some really cool, I mean, the word dystopian comes to mind a little bit, not necessarily all the way, but certainly there's a flavor of that in the songs that Dayna's chosen. So Dayna, what songs are those?
Well, there's a real variety here, and definitely when I was asked to do the concert and what I first thought about in my brain, we didn't end up with, which I really am pleased with. So we have one of my favorites is a Randy Newman song called "I Think It's Gonna Rain Today," and I think that this one is kind of becoming my front runner because it's got such a juxtaposition of the music to the lyric, and some sarcasm, and but this real empathetic mood to the music. It's I think a homeless man wandering through the streets, kind of observing things and metaphors, and it's just really, really moving, and it's just very traditional folk to me. The verses, the refrains, and the melodies, but there's just that Randy Newman twist in it, and I would say it's a bit peculiar. And I think that people are going to really enjoy this song, and maybe not everyone has heard it.
I have not heard it. Yeah, for sure, it was new to me. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, really nice one. Judy Collins does a beautiful arrangement of it, and Bette Midler sang it in the movie Beaches. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some points. Should we talk about? Are we going to talk about all the songs, or are we going to leave some?
At least 2 or 3 more. Yeah.
Okay. So interesting enough, we have 2 Canadian songs. One is mine. It's called "The Road Less Traveled," and the theme of that song is you know, kind of I want to make my own way, or I'm going to have my own successes, and kind of getting to a point, looking around going, hold on a second, where am I? Which I really felt played into that American dream concept and of pursuing your passions and pursuing that success. And another one is Don't Let It Bring You Down by Neil Young, which is from the album After the Gold Rush, and just kind of has that After the Gold Rush theme to it. It has a bit of a similar theme to the Randy Newman song, but it's more about like pick yourself up and, you know, try again and find someone who's turning, and that's what the lyric says. And again, melody here is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning melody to sing. That's probably the first thing I look for in a song.
Yeah, you need a good melody to sing, right? I can remember you saying.
Yeah, and also just the way it will play with the strings. I really thought about. I haven't had the opportunity to work with a string quartet before, and I'm really thankful for it. Thank you guys. And I just really had that in mind when we were picking things. And one that Ben suggested that I thought was a fantastic choice is Not Ready to Make Nice by the Dixie Chicks. And, you know, where they had kind of called out a president on stage, and it became huge news, and they pay the price for it. And singing these lyrics are just so raw and so honest and so simple. And I love this song. I actually worked with the man who engineered this song, Jim Scott. He recorded my second record. And believe it or not, Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers plays the drums on this recording. People don't know that. He played on my album as well. And it just has this passion. I can't wait to sing it with you guys. And I think that was a great choice. Maybe the last one is a bit obvious. I guess I'll touch upon it. It just is kind of touching upon the fact that, yeah, the American dream is there. And yes, you can say you can work as hard as possible and you can achieve this, but some people cannot because of the circumstances that they are born in and live in and the way our world is. And the last song touches upon that.
And that's The Way It Is by Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah.
That great choice. I was shocked that Julie Baumgartel, our second violinist, didn't know this song. But
wow.
That's okay.
That's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. And Jody too, our viola. So anyway, they're gonna love it. They're gonna love it. We'll make them love it. So Ben, you know, when it comes to folk music, we were having this conversation the other day, right? Like what sounds like folk music and classical music? Oftentimes when we think of Dvorak and the way he collected folk song, the way that he integrated folk song from his Czech homeland into his music, there's a pentatonic, you know, thing going on there. And then is that different than, you know, there's a quote here. So he was brought over, right, to New York City in this role, and you know, tasked with trying to identify an American sound. Just let me find it here. And then he was introduced to African-American melodies, spirituals. And he said, there's nothing in the whole range of composition that cannot be supplied with themes from this source. And he said, I discover all that is needed for a great and noble school of music. I found that really fascinating. But there's commonalities in the sound of what is perceived as folk. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, listening to there's sort of this the American Quartet, the one we're doing, and the New World Symphony sort of fall into a similar ballpark of music that Dvorak wrote in the States, that sort of it really did get owned by the by the American musical establishment as being, okay, these are works written in the American idiom and stuff like that. But in a lot of ways, what Dvorak was using, he didn't borrow any actual tunes. Like he didn't ever actually just say, okay, here's a spiritual, I'm going to put this in a symphony and away we go. He didn't actually do that. He found things in the music that he thought were really useful and exciting. And I think part of the reason why that really worked with his style is because he was really exploring music that wasn't, strictly speaking, tonal. It was more modal, which is to say that it wasn't really always heading for one place. It was kind of like a motor going. There's a lot of Czech music has that sort of train feeling to it, where the motor keeps going and things sort of get interspersed into it. And that train kind of feeling of music that has the motor that keeps going, that keeps rolling, is something that really, I mean, you find it a lot in Gershwin as well. You find it in a lot of sort of straight ahead American music, that sort of motor that keeps going. And so there's the pentatonic nature of the songs with lots and lots of verses. It's like we do a chord, and we do another chord, but it's not the same way that Beethoven had it. Okay, all these chords are leading to this spot here. It's like, no, we're going to do this chord, this chord, this chord, then we're going to do them all again. And that had a real, I think that had a real appeal for Dvorak, but also a lot of other Czech composers like Janacek and Smetana. They just had this real feeling like there's this underpinning motor, and we're just kind of on the train and it keeps going. And that I think is sort of how Dvorak fit so nicely into the American sound. And I think so much of what he the ideas that he took from Black music, and also you'll find in the American quartet there's a lot of really cool little things that are clearly Hispanic as well. Just little ideas, like in the third movement, there's a really very Hispanic sounding little section that he grabbed it and used it because it fit with forms that he was already working with. So I think that's sort of the way that Dvorak and American music kind of fused. It wasn't that he went in there and he grabbed all the tunes he could and made them and set them to orchestrations. He heard the sound and said, that works really well with what I'm already working with. And so that's how I think Dvorak ended up with his sound that was the American sound, or whatever you want to call it.
Very cool. Very cool. I hadn't thought about that before. It's the motor that just keeps running. Yeah.
Like when we did the Janacek string quartet, it was always in there. Yoga dugga 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 dugga. Just that sense of the this underpinning rhythm and it goes so well with the pick guitar as well. Like when we were working on that, when I was working on the Neil Young song, the Don't Let It Bring You Down, when Dayna's picking that thing, it's got that sort of bubbling continuity that fits really nicely with the quartet.
Mm-hmm.
I did think of bluegrass. I thought that we were going to go bluegrass with this show, and then it kind of took this little twist, and so it's there, but it went a little further. Yeah.
No, but the way you do your picking and of course the continuity and the consistency of your rhythm, which is really quite astounding. It does have that sort of motor in the same way that the Dvorak does. There's little bits of it in the still too, but I think definitely in the Dvorak.
Mm-hmm. Are you playing banjo on this show?
No, just guitar. Yeah.
So I'd ask.
You gotta ask.
Sorry.
Gotta ask.
Sorry, guys.
Never too late. Never too late for the banjo.
That's right.
Well, this has been a delight speaking with you two. We're going to be rehearsing together very, very soon. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
These are some tasty tunes. And yeah, it's been great chatting with you. So thank you both.
Thank you.
And so this is our concert, Heartland. It will be performed, live streamed and in person from Revival House on April 3rd. Get your tickets at our website, innerchamber.ca. Okay. See you later, Dayna. See you later, Ben.
Hey, Andrew. See you, Dayna. Bye.
Hey, Andrew. Bye, Ben.